My name is Sem Langendijk and I'm a documentary photographer. I just finished my first project, Haven. The cameras that I use are these bulky old analog tools. Those tools really enabled me to change my interaction with the environment that I was walking through. My initial interest in photography came from wanting to travel and explore the world. With my work, I just tried to examine place and to really get into the details of what makes up this particular environment. But people started asking questions of where I was from and what was my background, and I kind of felt the need to photograph and document this for myself. Going back to Amsterdam, I started working on this and I realized that a lot of the pictures that I was looking for already couldn't be taken anymore because the place just wasn't there. I realized that the environment that I had lived in when I was in my teenage years also wasn't there anymore. So yeah, I got that sense of that I wanted to create this story about how Amsterdam had changed or what I had experienced, even though it was already gone. From that sort of longing to these places, I photographed places that reminded me of that environment. So I got to New York and I started photographing street corners. All of a sudden, by looking at these street corners, I saw how there were all these little signs like indicating that a place was up for rent, or these closed off windows. That to me showed that there actually was a lot of people leaving and a lot of things changing. And you would see the architecture change. Then you would end up in these sort of streets where if you enter, you felt unwelcome. You felt like, oh, this is somebody else's environment, somebody else's property. And there's one image which really indicates that well. Like, you see these sort of black walls that are just facing the street, where it's almost like you're looking at a fortress. At that time, it sort of clicked that I wasn't necessarily looking at one place or at one city, but it was more this idea or this transition of how gentrification is affecting the way we interact with space. When I had shot Amsterdam and New York, I also went to London, because London is basically the one city that has developed these areas the furthest and the most extreme. I noticed it was different when I got stopped by a security agent who told me that I needed to have a permit to be there as a photographer. And it basically means that there's a private company that makes the regulations within that area. So there's a lot of things that allows the public to interact with governance or with the way we interact with space that were just excluded from these big parts of the city that are now being controlled by companies. So for me, that meant that as a photographer, I had to, make my walks shorter and go on specific times where I knew there was less people on the street, or even more people on the street, so I could still blend in a bit more. Because I really felt that I always should have the freedom to be there and also to reflect on what those places are. In the end, it's about financial gain and about control. From the 60s, 70s, 80s onwards, people wanted to be involved with how the cities were regenerated, and now it's big companies that dictate what's happening to cities. The goal of the work in terms of the audience is to contemplate of what's happening around us and to get a better understanding of that. But for me, the goal of the work personally was to sort of create this narrative about my childhood or about what I experienced growing up in Amsterdam, and to sort of pay tribute to that and to pay tribute to those communities. There's a lot of photographs in the book that show different places, different times, but they resemble each other in a way, and I think those are really magical moments when you see those two. In a way, for me, this project was about homecoming.